Hey, I'm just gonna go for a run.
Cool. Did you warm up?
Yeah, of course.
Did you really?
Okay, I'm gonna go now. Okay, as tempting as it might be to just use the beginning of your run as your sort of warm up, what will actually be more beneficial for your body, even if you're just about to do a 25-minute or 30-minute run, is what's called a movement prep. So what we're going to do is prep some key joints that are involved in running, which is more than you might think. We're going to work your ankles, your knees, your hips, and try to activate your core and do a little bit of shoulder work too. Okay? So let's get started. First things first, controlled articular rotations for your ankles. Now the way we get into this is just come to a comfortable seated position. You're going to take your right arm underneath your right leg. Right hand goes into the left bicep. Left arm comes around as though you're going to do a rear naked choke for those of you that are into MMA or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So we trap the femur here, we trap the leg, and we're just going to start to flex and dorsiflex and plantarflex the ankle, which basically just means point and flex. Now I'm doing it with shoes on just to show you, like, we don't have to go too crazy here. I want you to just start to, I want to make it as easy as possible, basically. I want you to just do this. But of course, it is a lot better if you can do it with the shoe off and start to really prep the muscles of your feet. But just starting to move back and forth. We want to keep everything else still. What I like to do also is hold on to the knee too. So I'm holding the femur and I'm making sure the knee doesn't move. And we're just going forward and back. Now we're going to take it into circles. So articulations mean that we're trying to access all of the joint. But see how I started to turn out there? That means I'm starting to turn out from the knee joint. So I just want to move the ankle only. And you'll start to feel the heat build as all the muscles around your ankle start to activate. These delicate muscles that you didn't even really know existed. We'll go the other way around. You always feel them when you do like a sand run, for anyone that does sand running. Okay, keep hold of that foot. Make sure that we're in the shin as well. Make sure that we're really just moving. I'm actually pressing my right elbow up into my calf to try and stop anything from externally rotating there through the knee. So full clockwise and anti-clockwise, just through the ankle. Okay, good. Now we'll move up into the knee. So now you can take this left hand, place it behind, and really try to trap. So I'm actually really kind of chopping down and trying to stop that femur from moving. Now those of you that aren't so flexible may have a little bit of trouble with this, but what we're actually going to start to do before we go into the extension position, which is quite intense on the hamstring, is you're just going to start to work on getting some rotation through the knee. A lot of people don't realize that you should have a little bit of rotation. Should is a strong word. That the body does have access to, naturally the way the joint is designed, to a little bit of external rotation through the knee, or rotation through the knee. So I'm just starting to turn out. Now notice I'm not turning out through the ankle. My foot isn't moving back and forth like that. I keep that very still, which is why we have our heel on the ground now. And I'm just trying to move my shin at the joint. Don't worry if you haven't got this straight away. It's quite tricky, but we want to develop full control over our joints, right? That's what controlled articular rotations are for. Now, if you've got the hang of that, we'll just go through some basic extension and flexion. We're going to extend and then we're going to flex. Extend and flex. And if you're feeling really hardcore and you can get that internal and external rotation, you're going to come into internal, extend up, try to go into external, and then come down, okay? We're being really intricate here with our movements. The knee's one of the harder ones to kind of access. So I'm happy if you're just doing a little bit of extension and flexion too. Good. Okay, and trying not to move anything else. I can feel my hip moving a little bit, my femur moving. Okay, perfect. Let's go for the other side now. So left underneath, find your right bicep, Give it a little chop here, and then you can also just hold the knee. Remember, because we're taking the foot off and we're doing the ankle first. So plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, okay? And trying to keep everything nice and still. It's easy when we take just this movement, but when we start to come into circles, which we'll go for now, what can start to happen is the shin can start to move, and I want you to just keep everything very in the ankle only. Round in circles, we'll go the other way. What's great about doing this barefoot as well is that you notice how much your toes try to do the movement, and we want this to purely come from the ankles only. So again, an extra cue is just to try and make sure your toes are super relaxed within the shoe, and instead we're feeling just the ankle do this. How much control do you really have over your ankles? Alrighty. Okay, let's move into the knee. So right hand comes behind the knee. And then from there, we start to put the heel on the ground, internal and external. Internal, external. And just make sure nothing's coming from the foot. I have to be really careful that the ankle stays as still as possible through this. And it's just happening through the knee. It's really tricky for some people, and some people that have had knee injuries start to lose control over that. Even if you haven't had a knee injury, you've just had like an injury on that leg. I've broken this foot, so this leg just lost a lot of awareness as I started to favor my right side a bit more. Cool, now we'll go into extension and flexion. And if you can, go for your rotation. So we externally rotate, extend, internal rotation, not so much from the foot. External. It's really tricky. Okay, keep going. I promise it has a purpose and a function. Okay, keeping those babies healthy. Sometimes we don't think about the fact that these joints need to move through their full range. Okay, cool. Alrighty, let's come onto the floor. We're gonna get to hip cars in a second. But come down onto your back, hug the knees into your chest, start to rock from side to side, massaging out through the lower back. This is a bit of a check-in moment, like just have a feel for how your back's feeling, check in with your body, what are your energy levels like, what's your rate of breathing. See if you can come into a calm state before you decide to go for a run as much as possible. Coming back to stillness, keep hold of the right leg. Let the left leg extend, and as you hug this right knee in, feel the left leg sort of extend away from you, like it's trying to reach out of the hip. We'll take the leg across the body down to the floor, coming into the twist. We're just gonna go for one sort of opening twist. Take that right hand forward, reach it up and around, exhale into it, nothing too crazy. Use the strength of your body to come back to center, hug the knees into the chest. Keep hold of the left leg, right leg extends down to the floor, reach away from you as much as possible, stretching into the side body maybe. And then we'll take the leg across the body and come into the twist. Left arm reaches forward, we take it up and around, exhaling. Good, use the strength to pull yourself back to center. Hug the knees into the chest. Place both feet down onto the floor. Tuck the tailbone and begin to lift your pelvis off the floor, coming into glute bridges. We'll roll back down one vertebra at a time, but I want you to feel like spine comes down slowly. Curl, lift off, curl back down. Arch the back so that you get a gap. And we're just exaggerating that sensation so that we really start to feel that posterior pelvic tilt versus the anterior. Posterior up here, lower down, come into anterior. And then we'll hold that position here. We're gonna come into what's called a glute bridge march. So you're gonna keep the hips up, tailbone tucks as much as possible. You can use your arms on the floor, lift and bring that knee forward towards your face. Change sides. Now notice as I change, I try and keep the hips up, tailbone tucked. So we're trying to maintain that posterior pelvic tilt. You can lift the balls of the feet off if you want to activate a little bit more hamstring. If you know that your hamstrings are a little lackluster at times, Just keep the toes lifted. You can take the feet further forward as well. But whatever you do, if you do move into that hamstring variation, please make sure the tailbone stays tucked and that we maintain that posterior pelvic tilt. Another 3, 2, and 1. Good. Come down, knees hug in towards the chest. We're going to rock up and down the spine, get enough momentum, rock up, come into a seated position here. I'd like you to drape your arms over your legs like so, and you're just going to round forward like this. I'm going to get you to take a deep breath in, breathing into the back of the rib cage. Inhale and exhale. Inhale through the back of the body and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale and exhale. So trying to make space for our rib cage to move so that the diaphragm actually sits in the right position for correct breathing biomechanics. Okay, so inhale, back of the ribs expand. So we feel like there's space being created here. And then full exhale, ribs pull down. Good. Cross the legs in, come into an all fours position onto the hands and knees. We'll move into our controlled articular rotations for the hips. Push the floor away, belly pulls in. And from here, come into hip flexion on the right side, which means the knee comes forward. Come as far as you can without going into this. So we want to maintain a neutral spine and find flexion as deep as we feel we have access to. We're then going to take the leg out to the side. We're then going to internally rotate it. We're going to do so without dropping the hip too much. So we want to try to just feel what our hip gives us permission to do. Bring it into extension and then take it down. So we come out to the side. Once we're out to the side, turn in, move around to the back, and then come forward. And I want you to imagine you've got something on your back protecting you. Protecting you? Where did that come from? I want you to imagine you've got something on your back, your favorite liquid, and you don't want it to spill. Where did that come? It's like, oh my gosh, I've been watching too many like sort of Star Wars-y movies that are like, make sure that you've got this protecting you. I don't know, it's in my head. I may edit this chat out, I may not. Apologies if I don't. Tip, come back, bring it forward. Okay, let's go the other way, or other side, other leg. So come into flexion, take it out to the side, internal rotation, move into hip extension. So forward, pushing the floor away at the same time. Everything stays nice and still. This stays really tight. I want you to feel like the glute and then any deeper hip internal and external rotation muscles are activating to facilitate this. We want to wake those babies up before you go for a run. Those tiny little stabilizers in your core and your hip that all have to switch on to protect you. Because if you think about that repetitive motion, pounding on that concrete for the next 25 to 30 minutes, we want to make sure everything's nice and active. Okay, back into that all fours position, spread the fingers nice and wide, drop the belly down, lift up through the head and the hips, heart opens, shoulders pull back. Push the floor away, belly button hugs into the spine, round. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the head and the hips. Exhale, belly to the spine, push the floor away, head down. Inhale, exhale. Inhale and exhale. Okay, come back to a neutral spine. I'm going to get you to take a controlled articular rotation for the shoulders. So come to sit back down on your heels, leaning forward, pull the ribs in, take the right hand to the left rib cage. We want to keep that rib cage down. We're going to externally rotate through the shoulder here. Pinky forward, it leads, we come forward and up. Now we go into as much flexion as we can, and then we start to internally rotate. Now we're not just internally rotating with the forearm, we're trying to feel that whole upper arm twist, and we start to move and come down. So now it's an internal rotation. Let's move back, external rotation, and then coming down. okay? But we're trying to keep the ribs down. We're trying to just move through the shoulder as much as possible. Okay, keeping it down, keep everything still. We're trying to find integrity through the shoulder only. Now, if you're doing proper controlled articular rotations, and that's what I do want you to work towards, where you spend a lot more time on this, we'd be paying much more attention to all of that stillness. But because I know you're eager to go for a run, this is better than nothing. But the idea here is to be as proper as we possibly can in terms of maintaining stillness. Change sides if you didn't already. So notice I'm not sort of just like wobbling all over the place as I start to extend that arm. We want just the shoulder to be doing the movement. We're almost there, guys. Get those shoulders nice and warm because they should be involved in your running. Your arms do get involved, so you do want to prep them properly. Let's go one more time. Back the other way through internal rotation, external. Last one. Forward, keep the ribs down, take it all the way up, start to internally rotate as much as you can as you come into extension, come down. Let's go back the other way. Ribs down, and then come into external rotation. Okay, last but not least, tuck the toes, press back, sort of semi-down dog. Shake out your head, yes and no. Push the floor away, shrug the shoulders, and then relax them. Push the shoulders away, or push your body away, shrug the shoulders. Shrug, release. Walk the feet up to the hands and hang forward here. Shake out your head, yes and no. We're gonna unroll all the way up to standing. Roll the shoulders down and back. Bring the hands to the hips. From here, lift the left leg off, hug it in towards your chest. From there, you're gonna step that left leg back into a lunge. Notice my hands come forward. Hook the thumbs or just bring the palms together, but you wanna sort of like interlace your fingers. You're gonna come up, twist to the side, come up, stand up, reverse the movement, hug the knee in, place the foot down, change sides. Right knee hugs in, squeeze it. From there, step back, interlace your fingers as you feel comfortable, reach it up and over to the side, back to center, step up, hug, and release. Let's pick up the pace a little bit. Hug, back, reach, hug, release. Hug, back, reach, come up, change sides, keep going, reach, twist back. Notice I'm moving into a more dynamic position. Step, ooh, reach, come back to center. Trying to switch on your balance awareness too. Hug that knee in, vestibular system, hug in, reach up and back. Hug and release. 10 raises on to the toes, okay? Get those ankles ready. So here, raise up, lower down. Raise up, lower down. As I lower down, I lift back. And we get that anterior tib firing to lift the toes off. Heels off, toes off, heels off, toes up. 5, whoop, 4, do it from your muscles, not just leaning forward and back. 3, lift, 2, and 1. All right, let's go.